Heihachi Mishima, the original spiky-haired dude. He's been a staple of Tekken since day one, embodying everything unhinged about the series. Heihachi's character has always been synonymous with raw power, requiring a player to master a combo of timing, precision, and iron-willed commitment to execution. He wasn't a character you picked up for casual play. In previous Tekken games, Heihachi was a powerhouse. His moves hit like a freight train, and his electric, being one of the trickiest moves to master in Tekken's deep roster, was capable of shutting down most people's offense, if you had the skill to pull it off, however. The electric wind god fist, the staple of the Mishima family, was like a badge of honor for those who could perform it consistently. But it wasn't about raw execution, it was about decision making and precision. Heihachi thrived in the hands of those who not only mastered his technical execution, but understood how to make the most out of his counter hit utility. However, that same high execution barrier has also acted as a natural gatekeeper. Heihachi's true potential was hidden behind a steep learning curve, one that scared off the most dedicated players. To many, Heihachi was a mythical being. You knew he was incredibly strong, but you also knew that controlling him required a ton of dedication, practice, and impressive finesse. This gatekeeping effect made Heihachi more of an enigma. A character people respected from afar, but rarely saw in action unless the player behind the controller was willing to grind for hours upon hours to make him work. And that was kind of the beauty of it. Heihachi's strength in previous games wasn't handed to you, it was earned. His devastating combo potential and his intimidating presence were balanced with the reality that you had to pay the price of admission. That kept Heihachi powerful but exclusive, ensuring that the strongest players wielded his power with mastery and not luck. In Tekken 8, Heihachi has been reworked to make him more accessible to the broader range of players, particularly catering to the newer to the series. This shift starts with simplifying his input commands. Moves that once demanded precise timing and technical skill, like the iconic Electric Wind God Fist, now have more lenient execution windows, making it easier for less experienced players to perform his signature techniques without the frustration of mastering the tight inputs. Heihachi's new combo strings are designed to be much easier to chain together as well, allowing players to deal substantial damage and keep pressure on their opponent without the same level of in-depth knowledge of his moveset. Previously, knowing which moves connected optimally in different situations required tons of hours of practice, but Tekken 8 provides a much more straightforward path to success. Another key change lies in his frames. Many of Heihachi's attacks, which were once highly punishable if poorly executed, now have reduced recovery time to provide better frame advantage, making aggressive gameplay less of a calculated risk. Players who are not yet familiar with Tekken's intricate frame systems can still play Heihachi without being heavily penalized for their mistakes, which opens the character up to those still learning the intricacies. He now has stances, which are usually a mix of risk and reward, but they're made so easy in this game. Almost all of his options out of his stances seem pretty insane, and a lot of them link together now to make some oppressive pressure strings. All of these adjustments collectively make Heihachi much more approachable and forgiving, letting newer players experience the thrill of his powerful moves without the steep learning curve that used to make him so exclusive. However, this accessibility comes at a cost, stripping away some of the complexity and skill expression that made mastering Heihachi such a rewarding challenge for veteran players. In Tekken 8, Heihachi's approach to stances has evolved into a terrifyingly effective pressure game, allowing him to unleash relentless attacks that can leave opponents gasping for room to breathe. Heihachi uses two key stances, Rajan's stance and Demon's Breath stance, each providing a unique set of offensive options that enable him to maintain an almost unending barrage of attacks. The Rajan stance is a classic Mishima family staple, but has been given new life in Tekken 8, emphasizing Heihachi's ability to stay up close and personal. From this stance, he can transition into powerful mid-attacks that have significant pushback or quick lows that force the opponent into constant guessing games. The options out of Rajan's stance allow Heihachi to alternate between safe, consistent pressure and mix-ups that can open up even the most defensive players. He can also chain moves that are safe on block, which allows him to continue maintaining momentum, denying opponents to mount a counteroffensive. It is particularly dangerous during heat, the new mechanic in Tekken 8 that further amplifies his pressure. In heat, Heihachi's stance transitions become much smoother and certain moves gain enhanced properties, like improved framing advantage or increased damage, allowing him to loop pressure more efficiently. He can also cancel some of his offensive options back into Demon's Breath or Raijin stance, creating an oppressive cycle of attacks that leave opponents with little room to retaliate. Heat mode enhances these transitions, and don't even get me started on his Warrior Instinct install. The combination of these stances, particularly when in heat mode, means that Heihachi can establish an oppressive offensive game plan that is very difficult to deal with. Opponents find themselves constantly forced into high-risk, low-reward defensive situations, while Heihachi keeps cycling between different attacks that have minimal downside. The ability to loop pressure between these stances, especially in heat, means Heihachi has become one of the most aggressive characters in Tekken 8, a far cry from the risk-reward balance that once defined his playstyle. With all of this said, Heihachi is literally the embodiment of why players are getting sick of Tekken 8. Most of his issues arise from his options out of stance, where the game is once again relying on the casino gameplay. It doesn't feel good when the defensive counterplay in a vast amount of situations is just to guess right. I definitely understand that they want to make Heihachi badass and cool for new players, but it's really disappointing to see that they are favoring the casual player base this much and seemingly not acknowledging the downsides to competitive players. I know all the comments are going to be like, well, most people buy the game are casuals, but I feel like Tekken has never been the franchise to take it easy on casual players. Until now.